I'm Carl.
That's Carl. Go ahead, Carl.
No, that's it. We're related through Jody's mother. Jody's mother is Bob's sister.
Okay. And Jody's mother's mother was Nona Victor. Yeah. So that's how that works.
Hi, my name's Jody, and Bob is my uncle. Yeah, he's my real uncle. And my mom was his sister. Of course, that's how it works.
Well, tell me how the family tree trickled down to you.
C.A. Victor, and then my grandmother Nona. She's the youngest of all the children of the Victor family.
Of the 10.
Of the 10. And then she had 2 children, Robert and my mom Beverly, and my mom Beverly had me. And then she had 3 other kids.
And Beverly was born in 29, and Bob was born in 32.
Right.
Now we'll move on to Shelley, who is the granddaughter of the oldest, Elbin Ferdinand Victor, child number 1, born in 1888.
Good for you. You've got those dates. I'm impressed. Yes. Yes, and we never knew him because he died when my mom, Jane, was 2 years old. And her older brother was 4, and they really don't remember him at all. He died of pneumonia. He was a mining engineer, and he was in Montana and caught pneumonia and died on the train going to Spokane to his next job. Oh, I'm very proud to be a Victor descendant. There's lots of us here. It's great.
Well,
that's all I have to say.
Well, Tom Victor, his grandfather, Elbin, was the same grandfather as we just talked to with Shelley. So he's the only one here, I think, whose actual last name is Victor that I'm aware of.
Hi, I'm Tom Victor, live in Minneapolis, love coming to Lindstrom. It's a great town, a lot of great memories, and people live here still. I worked at Medtronic for years, and now I'm retired and glad to be here with the mayor of Lindstrom.
Former mayor of Lindstrom, but who's going to correct you for that, right, Tom?
We don't care. Yeah, my son is getting married in 2 weeks, and he will be wearing cufflinks from Elbin Victor. His name is Anders Victor, so it works out AV. So that's about all I got right now. Thank you.
My middle name is Victor, though, Jack. Keith Victor Carlson. And here's my cousin, Barb Victor Holmquist. She is the oldest granddaughter or grandchild of the oldest Victor son, Elbin.
How do you like that? We still have a cottage in Lindstrom on South Lindstrom Lake. My cousin Shelley, who you talked to before, she and I spent a lot of our summers up here as kids, staying with my grandma M, who married Elbin Victor, and we consider this our home as well as the Twin Cities.
Hey, what's your name?
Greg Carlson. I'm one of the great-grandsons, C.A. Victor, and Keith is my brother.
This is my older brother.
That's correct. Our grandfather was Arvid Victor, who was the 8th person. C.A. Victor had 10 children. Arvid Victor, our grandfather, was the 8th. And the 10th was Jill's grandmother, Nona Victor. And all the other relatives, I don't know all of them here today, but anyway, yeah.
Do you remember your grandfather in person?
He died in 1995. Greg was almost 50 years old.
Yeah, Arvid Victor, our grandfather, yeah. So we never knew C.A. Victor, our great-grandfather, but our grandfather Arvid we knew very well. He married Mabel Palmquist. And Mabel Palmquist, actually, we were talking about that today. Palmdale is named up here by Elmalun. The little town of Palmdale is named after Frank Palmquist and Agda Elmdale, his wife. So they took the Palmquist, the Palm, and the Elmdale and named it Palmdale. His farm was there, Palmdale on 95, east of Elmalun.
This is one of Hugo Victor's daughters, I believe.
Yes.
We're all here.
We're here with Channel 10 cable TV. So tell me who you are.
All right. My name is Carrie Lee, and this is my twin sister Pam, and our older sister Elizabeth. And Pam was just mentioned, we are still enjoying the Victor Deer Lake home on Deer Lake, the cabin. We own it and still go up and enjoy and use it.
Well, of you three, who's the smartest?
We all are equal.
They all rank in the genius. It's hard to sort out genius. And their grandfather, Hugo Victor, and their father was also Hugo Victor, was my grandfather's next closest brother in age.
Yes.
It's Elbin, Carl.
Oh, he's going to do
It's Elbin, Carl, Amy, Anna, Hugo, May, Ruth, Arvid, Arlie, and Nona.
Oh! He's the smartest of the family.
We're all Victors. My middle name is Victor. I said that before, Jack.
My maiden name is Victor, as you know, so I'm Carrie Victor Lee.
And I'm Keith Victor Carlson.
Love it.
So if you got Victor in your name, you got to be.
You're good and you're smart. Ready? V-I-C-T-O-R-Y. Victor! Victor! Victor, that's our cry!
I'm Cindy Tangen Shidla. This is my husband, Bob Shidla. My grandmother was Ruth Victor, so she's one of the Victors. So these are all my second cousins. Is this how we are related?
And their grandmother was next to my grandfather in age. Their grandmother was child number 7. My grandfather was child number 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
You remember?
I have so many
Ruth?
stories about Mormor. We called her Mormor, which is Swedish for mother's mother. Actually, she was father's mother, but oh well.
Yeah.
And she wrote a fabulous cookbook with the family tree. I think that's her legacy to all of us in our extended family here. She was a wonderful person. I now am called Mormor because of her with my grandkids.
With your grandkids. Yep.
Yes, yeah. She was very special to me.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. And do you have any opinions about those Victor descendants?
They're always wrong. Our side of the family is always right.
I knew we'd get that in.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Now we have a young man from Kansas City.
Yeah.
And he's going to tell you about himself.
Yes, my name is Joshua Victor Lopez, the only Victor of my siblings, so that's something I'm proud of. I'm Frank Victor's grandson, Arvid Victor's great-grandson, and my mother is Ann Victor Lopez.
Did you know your grandfather?
I knew Frank all my life until 2017, 18 when he passed away.
But his grandfather, but his great-grandfather died in 95, and you were born
98.
So you missed that guy.
I missed Arvid, yes.
Okay.
All my Frank Victor's stories. He had a farm he bought in Stockton, Missouri, which is where we went basically on our weekends or holidays, which is our biggest Victor place we go to be honest. So it's really nice there, though, yeah. It's the Victor farm.
All right.
Absolutely.
He's the football player in the family.
Oh, yeah, I am.
And here is Ann.
I'm Ann Lopez now, used to be Victor. I am Arvid's granddaughter and Frankie Lee's daughter. So, yes. My family moved down to Kansas City. My father moved to Kansas City after he graduated from college, and I've come up for this event. It's a lot of fun seeing people that I haven't seen before. My grandmother, who used to pin her hair up every night and then take it down and pin it up every morning, and I used to sit on the bathroom floor and watch her because I thought it was the most amazing thing. My grandmother, yeah, I did. My grandmother told me when I brought a boyfriend up once to meet both of them, and she told me, Ann, don't have your first fight, and then you will never fight. And so she was claiming to me that she and Arvid had never had their first fight. Now, I wasn't around enough to see that, but Arvid was so kind-hearted and so blessed. So maybe that's the truth. You might know better than I.
Well, he wasn't much of a fighter, so he was tolerant. Just like my brother Greg and myself.
He said in all humility.
Yeah, all humility.
Well, who's this?
And this is my daughter.
Hi. Yeah, I'm her daughter, Allison.
Oh, yeah, mother and daughter looking good.
Yeah. So she was nice enough to come up here with me.
And they came all the way from Kansas City.
Yes. So those are my stories.
Thank you.
Sticking to them.
Do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you took it away.
Well, hey, tell us one of your dreams for the future. What you'd like to be or go or do.
Well, I'm a teacher, so, one of my dreams for the future is, of course, I don't know, spending a lot of time or helping the world becomes better for the future kids.
Thank you.
That's, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I found a book. This great new book you've got to read. If you're from Minnesota and you love tugboats, this book called Tuggy is written by Robert Victor Jonason, is on the top of the charts.
I'm married to a Victor.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We've been married for 22 years.
All right. Well, where is she right now? Right there. Okay.
Wait, I've been on TV already.
You've done your due, haven't you? All right. She did the famous Victor cry with her sister.
Well, my name's Andy, and I am the grandson of Hugo, and I forget which number kid Hugo was.
Let's say I got to go back. Mona, Arlie, Arvid, Ruth, and Hugo.
Hugo, right. I have great memories of Arlie in like the late 1960s, early 1970s in her Mustang convertible. Very glamorous earrings, sunglasses.
They were always white rimmed.
Yes, exactly.
They were light
Exactly.
They weren't clear. They were white or pink. They were white.
You're absolutely right. So my mother was Gail, Hugo's son, and so my first cousins are Carrie and Pam and Liz, who were Hugo Jr.'s kids.
They did the Victor cheer.
Yes, exactly. And we live here in Minneapolis, or in the Twin Cities. And this is my daughter Lillian.
Hi.
And Lillian is a rising 7th grader. And this is my lovely wife Caitlin.
Caitlin. What?
What would you like to say?
Oh, the Victor cookbook is huge in our house. We make the famous chocolate cake from the Victor cookbook for every birthday.
Yes.
And it was our wedding cake, believe it or not.
Oh.
That's what a big deal it was.
Yeah.
Andy's sister Jennifer, who could not be here today, made 1 billion little chocolate cakes for our wedding.
Out of the Victor cookbook.
And we have 2 copies of the Victor cookbook. Okay, sorry.
They're only supposed to have one, but it's
right. Exactly. I've got one inscribed by Ruth, and then we got it. I think when my mom died, we took hers, so we have 2. But that's okay. So, and we're so excited to be here. I actually didn't even know about this.
And we all get along, even though they have 2 cookbooks.
Exactly.
We're hoarding just in case. Yeah.
What's another recipe in that cookbook that calls attention?
There's one of the Jell-O salads, I feel like.
But the chocolate cake is so good.
Yeah.
What's not to like?
Yeah.
So.
Thank you.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm Keith Victor Carlson.
Oh, Keith, it's lovely to see you. Okay. I love that.
I love that you have this.
We have Ruth Victor's granddaughter.
Yes, Lynn Tangen. Dad was George, who is a son of Ruth Victor. And my husband, Rick.
Hi.
Of 36 years. And our dog.
And this is Cooper.
Our Cooper is our dog. He's the only dog here. The only dog here. Oh, yeah. Well, of course, Ruth, my grandmother, created the Victor cookbook, which is a treasure for all of us. The family
We still
trees
cook out
on
of
there.
that sometimes.
We do. We got great recipes.
Oh, and your banana cream pie out of
Yep. So yes, the Victor cookbook is very important. And
But it's also a history.
it's a history because it's not only a cookbook, it's the whole, all the 10 kids, and Mormor, we called her Mormor, and her husband Forfor. And Mormor means mother's mother in Swedish, yeah, okay. And she was the number 7, which is our lucky number, because we were married on September 7th, which is Ruth's birthday, my grandmother's birthday. Our other dogs, we had 2 Zebans, which were number 7. Let's see, there's a lot of number 7s in our family. Anyway, we love number 7, and Mormor loved number 7, so that's our number.
I have to say, he was county attorney in
Houston County, Minnesota, protecting all of Minnesota from both Wisconsin and Iowa.
Yeah, right.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing this.
Oh, I'm Jill Benke. My mother and father are Beverly and Norman Benson. My mother was a granddaughter of C.A. Victor in Lindstrom.
the youngest child.
And the youngest child, Nona Jonason, or Nona Victor. When my mom grew up, her mom, Arnie and Nona Jonason bought the house from C.A. Victor, so my mom grew up in her grandfather's house until she got married to Norman Benson, and then they moved to Natchez, Mississippi because he was building grain elevators on the Mississippi. They returned back here and then started having us kids. So I've lived in the Chisago Lakes area all my life, and very happy to be part of the C.A. Victor family and be able to say that they were my great-grandparents and founding fathers of Lindstrom. I'm currently the mayor of Center City and have lived in Center City most of my life on Park Island, where my other grandfather owned the Park Island Motel. And I grew up there, and then I've moved back to my grandparents, Nona, who is a Victor, the home that they built in 1956. So I presently live in my grandparents' home in Center City.
So I'm Chip Tangen. My real name is
George Martin Tangen, the second.
I was going to say my real name is George Martin Tangen II, and I'm one of the few people that don't know the original George Martin Tangen because he passed away when I was about 2, 1966. Yep. And so he was a photographer, and he took a lot of pictures, some of me, some nice.
He was a photographer, but he was a medical doctor.
Yes, he was a medical doctor, ENT like my father. But he took really nice photographs, and it occurred to me that that boy that he took a picture of me did know him. I just can't remember. I am maybe among the youngest of this generation, because I was born in '64. Ruth Signe Victor was my grandmother. She's the one who was behind the Victor Family Cookbook, which organized the 10 kids, so we can always turn back to that for recipes and family history. She married George Martin Tangen, who was a Norwegian.
Oh.
Yeah.
They didn't really tell CA about it, I'm guessing.
And that was kind of a big deal.
Although, to be honest with you, they came from Sweden, but they left Sweden because they wanted to come to the United States. So I don't think they really were all that insulted to marry a Norwegian.
No, that was close.
I'm guessing. Am I wrong? I don't know.
I don't know. I just knew it was kind of a big deal for a purebred Swede to marry a purebred Norwegian.
Yeah.
Mr. Elfstrand, nice to see you.
Sir to you, sir.
I said Mr. Elfstrand. Sir, Mr. Elfstrand. He is not a Victor, but he is a friend of Bob Jonason. Dave Elfstrand, tell us who you are.
Who am I? I'm just David Elfstrand. Nothing special.
How did you meet Bob?
Oh, we grew up together.
Did you go to school together?
No, but we grew up together.
Oh.
They both lived on Newell Avenue.
Yeah, Newell Avenue.
So yeah, I am the daughter of Bob Jonason, and yeah, so we lived here only for about 3 years over Center City, and then we moved up to St. Cloud when I was like, how old was I? 10, 11. Yeah. But yes, this place has always been my favorite. Coming to see the family and all the relatives, and I got to spend a good amount of time with Arnie and Nona Jonason. What's the name of that little strip of land that the hotel is on, where their house was? There's a little...
Well, it's Park Island Hotel, but I don't know if it's got a name that...
Probably not its own, but I just remember, I think the thing I remember most about that house is walking to the end of the dock and doing a little fishing and getting like one after another sunfish, just boom, boom, boom. Half an hour you could get like 10 sunfish. It's awesome. And just all the lakes. It's great to be back.
Great, thank you.
Well, my name is Kristen Jonason. I am the granddaughter of Bob, the big man we're celebrating today. I live in Minneapolis. Spent 14 days in the Grand Canyon last week, so I'm coming back to civilization. I sure was.
I'm Bill Jonason, so I'm Bob's son, younger son, and this is my daughter Kristen and my wife Christy. And Christy and I live in Minneapolis as well, kind of in the North Loop area. And when I go into the office, I work downtown so I can walk to the office, and I like that. And Christy can tell you about what she does, but she also works from home. Go ahead.
Yes, I have a Pilates studio in our house, and I teach people how to move better.
That's well said.
And we have a cute little dog named Carson and 2 cats, Betty Black and Buster Brown.
Yes, I'm Mimi Jonason, daughter of Bob Jonason, and we're here today from Boston to celebrate his 90th birthday. And with the help of Jody Benson, we were able to help him publish his book, Tuggy. And it's a fantastic book about bullying that's going off like hotcakes out of my office in Boston. I'm a clinical psychologist there. And people are buying it to learn about bullying and learning ways to teach their children how to treat each other and how to be brave in the face of cruel treatment. So we're having Poppy, we're taking him up to 2 Harbors after this to meet his great-granddaughter for the first time. And we're going to give her some Victor treasures, a doll that was great-grandma Victor's that's over 100 years old, and another doll that was Nona Victor's. So we're going to pass on some treasures to, I guess, the 5th generation.
Excellent.
Reunion and to honor Uncle Bob being 90 years old. His birthday was on July 28th. And I think we should all sing him happy birthday. You ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Bob. Happy birthday to you. And many more.
Tell us who you are, Bob.
Hi, I'm Bob Jonason. I'm the only 4th generation of C.A. Victor living yet. There were 18 children, grandchildren in that family, 10 kids in the family, and it's down to me as the last one right now. So everybody's got to pay attention to me, because I'm the old man, the only 4th generation.
Bob was the 17th of 18 grandchildren, right? Frank was 18.
16. We had Gail in there too.
Between you and Frank?
Yeah.
Oh.
Gail was after Frank.
No, she wasn't. Frank was born 36. He was the youngest.
And Gail was in 34.
Right, so...
That was Gail...
Victor.
Gail Victor. That would have been Hugo's daughter.
Bob, do you remember your grandfather?
Not C.A. Victor. He died about 12 years before I was born. I never knew him. But my grandmother, we moved in when he died. My parents lived in the upstairs of the old Victor home, and my grandmother lived downstairs, so I knew her, but she spoke Swedish more than she did English, and so I never got to know her very well, which is sad, when I think about it. And then when she died, my parents bought the house from the estate, and so I lived there. I went to Chi-High for grade 1 through grade 12. Well, my mother ended up being a school teacher. She went to a 2-year college down in the cities. And she was the 10th child in the family, so some of her sisters more or less raised her, She was passed on to them. And my dad was a year older than her, and he was from Center City. My grandparents on the Jonason side ran Park Island Hotel. And my mother and dad went together in high school some. And then off and on, my dad went to 3 different colleges and never graduated. Carleton, and then my grandpa told him, if you go to the same college your brother's going to, which is Gustavus, I'll buy you a car so you 2 of you have one. So he switched to Gustavus, and he went over to the university, but never graduated. He went out for the baseball team there, and some team they were playing recognized my dad as playing with one of the amateur town teams. And if you played on a town team like that, you were ineligible to play. So he got booted off the team. I don't know whether he would have made it or not, but got it off the team. But he was supposed to be a good athlete.
Bob may not say it, but I will. Bob pitched at the University of Minnesota on the baseball team. He was a teammate of Paul Giel.
Yeah, right. I went in and I was mostly a relief person. I didn't pitch a lot, but I made the team and enjoyed it. 2 years after I graduated, Coach Siebert won his first of 3 national championships. 1956, 1960, and 1964, the university won the NCAA championships. So he's a smart coach. I learned a lot of baseball from him. I used to pitch for North Branch when I was out of high school in Class B ball. Struck out 20 batters against Forest Lake one day. Pitched a 4-hit shutout with 20 strikeouts. That was one of the top.
Bob was a left-hander. He was like Warren Spahn or Sandy Koufax.
But not quite that good. I played out in the Western Trails League, which was Class A ball, for several years. Then I got drafted when I was through high school. I was married my senior year, and we had a young child. And after I got into service, ended up in Heidelberg, Germany. I was part of the occupation forces because we didn't sign the peace treaty till 1955. So I was over there several months, and I was living off post and had my wife, a child over there, and yet I was a part of the occupation force, but had a desk job. I wasn't in. The only time I shot in a rifle was when we'd go out on training exercises. Oh, that's my old friend Moose. Oh, well, we'd wrestle all the time, and I could usually beat him when we were younger. I used to come up to his shoulders when he was bigger than me, but I was quick with my legs, and I'd get a scissor grip on his stomach, and then he'd give up. And then we'd get up and we'd be friends again. But then later on, he learned this this neck hold, and he started putting that on me. He started beating me up.
Grunt like you're really.
I'd like to do it.
We used to do some wild things when we were younger. I won't tell you about them, but we had fun.
You bet.
Yeah, well, when I was in the service, my mother happened to write back to see if there's still a connection living there, and got it because my grandmother had died about 10 years prior to that. And so she got word back, and they said, by all means. And that time I was stationed in Heidelberg, Germany. So my wife and I and my son, Casey we'll call him, drove up to Sweden and made the contact and kind of reestablished contact there with the Swedes. I've been back there again several times, and 2 of their children, Lars was the second cousin of mine, two of his children came over here and lived with a cousin of mine. And my niece, and I can't remember who else, went over there and studied. Jody Culp went over there and stayed with them. And so we've kept that relationship going. It's been neat.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for all coming to the Victor reunion. Not only that, but we're honoring Uncle Bob for being 90 years old on July 28th. And Bob has written a book, and it's Tuggy. And Jody, my sister, Culp, coordinated with him, and she did the illustrations in the book.
Make a few comments before. Those of you that know me probably know about where I was married to Mary, my second wife, for 22 years. We had a great relationship. She died 3 years ago. And I want to tell you a little bit about that. She had cancer, and so we moved out to Framingham, which is a suburb of Boston, to be with our daughter out there, and we had a wing there. And the cancer came back. They took the lymph nodes out, but not enough of them. And we went and had x-rays for, I think, a month or so, and never caught it again, and it finally came back on her, and she peacefully passed away with us. In fact, we had a hospice bed in the room right next to where our bed had been in the wing of the house. And my daughter, Mimi, my sister Nina, and my daughter Nina, and my grandson Enzo were all three of us sitting around the bed, and she was pretty quiet the last several days. And the hospice people told us that she wouldn't live much longer. All of a sudden, one of us saw that Mary wasn't breathing anymore. Sure enough, she passed away just very peacefully in front of us. And about, probably within a month, I don't know the exact time for that, I was sleeping at night. All of a sudden, I heard this whisper, very loud, "Bob, Bob." And I didn't wake up, but I saw this, and it's a true story, and other people have had this experience, and I just want to share it with you. And I saw her face, a big face, smiling at me while I was still laying in the bed. She said, "Bob," she said, "I'm happy, and I'm going away now." Big smile on her face. And then that turned to a dream that she and I were walking along a cliff, and we had lived up in the Lake Superior for a while, and there were some cliffs up there. And all of a sudden, she went her own way, and I didn't see her. She was gone. I was out looking for her. And then I woke up from the dream. But that vision, I'm sure it was her telling me that she was happy. And it gave me so much peace. You can't, people that I missed her and I mourned for her, but yet I felt at peace from having that vision. I just want to share that with people. I have no fear of death anymore. It's just erased it, It's going to happen to me someday, so when it happens, it happens. But that was such a peaceful thing. I just wanted to share it with everybody. And those of you who didn't know the history. But I wanted to tell you one of the things that sometimes, somewhere, unexpected, somebody comes into your life out of nowhere, makes your heart race, and changes you forever. We call those people cops. But I, in my case, have one that I really did this to me, and that's my best friend, Beth. Where's Beth sitting? There she is. So we're the best of friends. We're not living together, but we just do so much together. We met at church just 1 year ago, and just the friendship just continues to develop. And she wanted to come and see some reference of where I've been. So we had a nostalgia tour coming up here. We looked at some of the old houses that Mary and I had lived in, and went down to Franconia where we used to live, and so that was neat. But I wanted to share that about Mary. As most of you know, I'm the last of the fourth generation of the Victor family. And there were in the family, if those of you have read it, this Victor book, if you haven't read it, find one of your relatives that's got it. It's an excellent story to read. Ruth Victor did a tremendous job in getting this information and putting it together. And you'll understand the family so much better if you get a chance to look at it. So I thank Ruth for doing this, and I invite everybody, if you haven't seen it, find a copy in your well, everybody got a copy of the generation, my fourth generation, all the kids that were living, and some of the kids of that generation got copies of it. I don't know how many copies she got of it, but it's an excellent story of the history of the family. But I lived in the Victor home when my grandma died. She was living downstairs, and my folks bought the house from the estate, and so I lived there in Lindstrom for went to Chi High 1 through 12. Probably too many of you don't know this, that Alvin Victor was the first son of C.A., and he went to the university, and he was a pitcher down there. Baseball pitcher for the University of Minnesota. In fact, if you ever want to see his name listed, you go into the football stadium, turn to the right from the main gate, and there's an M Club room, which is for all former M Club letter winners to use, just an open room. But I'm sure you could get in. And as you turn left, there's a plaque that's got all the baseball players on it. And Alvin's up on the top pretty close there. 1903, Alvin Victor. So he was a pitcher at the university. I happened to do that back in 1954, so I'm down the list a little bit on that. Oh yeah, one of the things I always chuckle about, within the family, there were 10 kids. 9 of them were married. One of them died in her early 20s. But 2 of the men married women that had Mabel for the name. So there was either Carl's Mabel or Arvid's Mabel in the family. When they talked about those 2, it was always Carl's Mabel or Arvid's Mabel. I don't know if you all know it, but there is right over the cemetery over here, there's a main plot where C.A. and his wife are buried, and also C.A. brought his mother and father over here for the later years. And he built the house that's right south of the Victor homestead for his family, and they lived there until they passed away. And the building right in front of the Victor house was his general grocery store, and he really had that for many years. And before they built the house, all the kids, they lived up on the top of that building. I don't know if my mother was. I don't think she was born when that. I think they moved in that house in 1905. So maybe, but anyway, she was just a youngster. But she used to say that she was raised more by her sisters than she was by her mother. I think her mother was tired out with all the kids she had. But unfortunately, C.A. Passed away in his I think 1930 or 2930 in there, passed away where I was born. And he was down helping out in the wintertime where just where the bathing beach is, that slough back, or that area behind it, I think it was right in there, or someplace by the swimming beach, they would cut ice in the wintertime and put it in a big barn in Lindstrom and put a lot of sawdust on it. And then they had their ice runs during the year. But he was out there one day, somebody slipped in the water, and he pulled this guy out and got all wet, walked home, and it's cold weather, walking in the wet like that, he ended up getting pneumonia, and that got the best of him. Wow. And unfortunately, that was the same year they were going to go back to Sweden, but they never made the trip. But that was kind of he was one of the leaders in the town. He did an awful lot in the town. I don't know all what he did, but he was one of the things he was very active in. He was an didn't believe in drinking, and I think his dad probably drank more than he should have, but he was very anti-drinking in his life, and was very active in trying to promote the thoughts of that. Let me see. Oh, I got to tell you a story about Lindstrom. This is a true story. Ted Norris is a real character in the town. It was the county, wrote the county press. And one year he had some stories about Christmas time and the different foods and everything. And he's telling the story about this dog in town, Blue Boy. And Blue Boy was Horton, I think belonged to this fellow anyway. That didn't make that much difference. But he was a very friendly dog. But if you were a little kid, he'd jump up on you and knock you over. So he's just friendly. But everybody seemed to know who Blue Boy was in town. And so Paul was, or not Ed, not Paul. Ted was writing a story about Christmas, and he talked about how the stores had their lutefisk sitting out front in a barrel, and lutefisk, I think you all know, is this dried cod, and the Swedes liked it, and they put cream on it, and they thought it was great. But you know, the dogs also, if there weren't fire hydrants around, you know, they used those buckets where the lutefisk was in to relieve themselves. So here in the paper, it says, and you know, lutefisk doesn't taste the same since Blue Boy died. That's a true story. That was written in the paper. But that was typical of Ted. Those guys were characters. They put on a show up at the old opera house. There was an opera house where the road V's there in Lindstrom. It's since torn down. But the guys put on the brideless wedding story. And so all these guys, half of them were dressed up as women. And before the thing went on, they had to stay, the press office was just a half a block away from there. So they all went down there, and I think this was in Prohibition days, but they had some moonshine here, so they had a few drinks to loosen them up before they went to the party. I was talking to Ted about it one time. I had just friendly visit with him long after he retired. And he said, you know, I couldn't get up that step. I said I was so drunk that I couldn't. I kept falling. And everybody thought it was a trick, you know, that I was doing it on purpose. He said, I couldn't get up there. But Ted was a character. I used to work for him for one day a week when they put the presses out, so I got to know him a little better. But there were a lot of characters in town. And then we had Joe Keane that used to come up in the Rudkus store and have his 3-2, and he'd shake bones. He used to keep time to the music. Some of the characters we had in town. But that's some of the memories I've got of the town. I ended up, 12 years in the same school. And the biggest shock I had when I first went to school, a little first grader, down in the basement of Chi High, there's this long drain, where it's a urinal for all the boys. You can imagine a 6-year-old standing there, relieving himself. Here comes a senior, stands up there, and it's just kind of a spooky. He didn't do anything to me, he didn't even pay attention to me. But it was a little spooky, and I never forgot that. That big guy standing right next to me, going to the bathroom. I still remember it. But those are some of the, one of the things we used to do, it was traditional, the chemistry class would always make some rotten egg gas, hydrogen sulfide gas, and we'd put it in test tubes, and or get something and put it through the ventilator so it'd go through the whole school. Well, one day a bunch of us put it in test tubes and corked the test tubes in our English class, and all of us at the same time in a signal order, so to speak. We all took the corks off and shook the test tubes a little bit, and all of a sudden people are coughing and pleading with the teacher to open the windows. She wouldn't do it, so we had to sit in that room for an hour, all of us. Oh, some of the funny stories that went on there. So I wanted to kind of share some of that with you. But read that book. I think, I've looked at it from time to time, and it's fascinating, the history in there. It shows you the generations. Tuggy, I'll tell you a little bit about Tuggy. I wrote that a number of years ago when I was sitting down in Corpus Christi. That was where my wife came from. And the thought came to me. And Tuggy's a little tugboat that works off the ocean there, and goes out and gets jobs. Well, being little, he just gets the little jobs or doesn't even get any. And there's one guy in the story, Bully Tug. He always splashes on him. He goes by and throws a wave at him, and laughs at him, and they make fun of him. So one day there's a call that comes in, and this boat, the Lady Slipper, it was a tour boat that was out in the ocean. Engine died on it, and it was frantic. It was being waved in against the rocks, and they called for help. Nobody would go out and help. And Tuggy said, "I'll go out." "Oh, what can you do?" They all kidded him, laughed at him. And he got out there and he threw the rope. We got to the boat, tried to pull the boat, and he couldn't pull him. All of a sudden, when he didn't have anything to do, and a lot of time he didn't, he'd go out in the ocean, and he got to be friends of a bunch of dolphins, and they were his friends. Well, all of a sudden, here all his friends show up, these dolphins, and a big line of them gets on the leeward side of the boat, pushes against it, and the other side, the windward side, the dolphins form a line so that the winds stop down. Pretty soon that boat, with Tuggy pulling, and without all of that wind against them, they're able to get into the harbor. So when they get in the harbor, finally everybody's cheering and they're promoting Tuggy, and he's done this job, and so they give him a special award for the day, and they have a Tuggy day, and even Bully Tug comes over and apologizes to him and says, "I'm sorry that, I appreciate what you did out there, and I admire you for it, and I'm sorry I always teased you. I won't do it anymore." And so from that on, Tuggy was well accepted, and even once in a while he went out and played with his dolphin friends again. But it was a great thing for him. And I think the interesting thing about this story is for little kids, it looks at positively about the bullying in it. And I think kids get a picture of it. I happen to have a daughter that's a psychologist, and she's told people about this and their kids. She's sold a number of the books just in her office because they like the thought of their kids reading about a positive approach on the bullying part of it. So anyway, there are copies here if you'd like them. For all the work Jody did in illustrating and helping me put the book out, she ordered a bunch of these, and she has a daughter that just is going through some physical, actually a problem. She broke a bunch of teeth, and it's a significant, not insured problem that she's got. It's going to take a lot of money to do it. So what we decided is if anybody would like a copy of this book, Jody will be up here and she'll sell you one, and all the money, all the proceeds are going to go to help Liz with her problem with her teeth. And I think that the prices on them is $15, but that'll all go for the foundation for Liz, her younger daughter. So and if somebody wants me to sign up for you, I will happy to do it. So I wanted to pass that on to you, and I think that's about all I had to say.
That's good. Okay. I would just like to let everybody know, when we had a reunion, 5 years ago? We talked about this book being recorded by our Chisago County Historical Society. I have done that. It has been brought up to the Historical Society, and it has been digitally done. So they have it on file. Now, I am not sure if it is just our genealogy part of it, or if it's both the genealogy part and our cookbook. But we can find out and let you know, and if there's a way for you to be able to get a copy of it, I will check into it and let you know. But I didn't want to lose this. I didn't want people to not have access to it, because there's a lot of you now that will never have this book unless we did that. So that's why it was done. And I have one special gift I want to give to Uncle Bob. And I wanted to put it in 9 boxes. Bob was always well known to giving us gifts as kids. And he'd put it in boxes, not 1, 2, 3, 4, sometimes 5, and we would have to unwrap them all. Well, I didn't get the time to unwrap and wrap them all up because I was going to do 9 boxes for every 10 years. I only did 1 box, but here's your golden box with your special present, and happy birthday.
Thank you. Oh.
Can you read it?
I can't read it, but I bet it's 1932, isn't it?
It is.
I thought so. Thank you.
I found a 1932 penny in honor of his birth and put it in a little plastic case for him to have.
Neat.
V-I-C-T-O-R-Y. Victor, Victor, that's our pride.
Shy high, musket a hawk, lutefisk, ya.
Once upon a time, there was a little yellow tugboat named Tuggy. He had always been little, and all the other tugs picked on him. Poor Tuggy, he didn't have any friends. Bully Tug was a big red tugboat that liked to tease Tuggy and splash water all over him. One day, Tuggy went out into the ocean all by himself. He started to cry. Suddenly, a school of dolphins swam up beside him.
"Why are you crying?"
they asked. He sobbed.
"I don't have any friends. The big tugboats pick on me."
"We'll be your friends,"
exclaimed the dolphins. All the dolphins swam around and played with him. This made Tuggy so happy. Tuggy stopped crying. From then on, whenever he felt lonely, Tuggy chugged out to sea to play with his new friends. They did not make him feel small or different. They accepted him as he was and cheered him up. When Tuggy got older, he went to work in the harbor. Because he was so little, he could only get jobs pushing the smallest barges. The big boats chugged by him, creating rocking waves that made it hard to do his work. When there were only a few jobs, the bigger tugs took all the work, and even the little barges were taken over by boats like Bully Tug. The big tugs told him,
"Go home and grow up."
One day, a terrible storm arose. All the tugs were afraid, and they stayed in the docks. No one dared leave the protection of the harbor. The wind howled, the rain came down in buckets, and the waves crashed onto the shore. Suddenly, an emergency message came to the harbor captain. The pleasure ship Lady Slipper was having engine trouble. It needed a tow into the harbor. There were many, many people aboard, and they were afraid. The strong wind was pushing them toward a rocky shore. The ship's captain feared all his passengers would be hurt badly if someone didn't come out to help. The harbor captain went to the docks and first approached Bully Tug to help the Lady Slipper.
"No way,"
said Bully Tug.
"I won't go out there in that terrible storm and be dashed to pieces."
One by one, all the other tugboats refused the captain. Tuggy felt sorry for all those people on the Lady Slipper.
"What will happen to them?"
he asked.
"I don't even want to think about it,"
whispered the very worried captain.
"Then I will go,"
said Tuggy, and all the other boats laughed.
"Who are you to try and save anyone?"
the big boat scoffed. Tuggy ignored all their jeers.
"Someone must save them,"
the little yellow tugboat replied as he chugged out of the harbor all by himself. As he left the shelter of the harbor, the wind became much worse. Waves crashed right over Tuggy. He barely made any progress, and it got darker and darker. Finally, he spotted the Lady Slipper. It was almost on the rocks. Tuggy pulled alongside and started to push. He chugged and chugged with all his might. He slowed the movement. Still, Lady Slipper moved closer toward the rocks. As hard as he tried, Tuggy could not stop the big ship. Suddenly, Tuggy's dolphin friends appeared. They all joined together and pushed against the Lady Slipper. Slowly, the boat began to move away from the rocks. The dolphins had helped save it from smashing. Tuggy was scared.
How could he ever find his way back to the harbor? It was now so deep dark out. The wind still blew, the lightning cracked, the thunder roared.
Don't worry, follow us,
said the dolphins. Tuggy then threw a rope to the ship's captain, who tied it tightly so they were lashed together. Tuggy started pulling Lady Slipper. Chug, chug. The wind continued to howl and the waves crashed over Tuggy. Chug, chug, chug. This was so very hard. Some of the dolphins stayed around the ship and continued to help push. Other dolphins formed a giant circle around Tuggy and Lady Slipper to try to calm the waves. Even with the dolphins around Tuggy and Lady Slipper, big waves bombarded the two boats. It was hard to hear anything over the screaming wind and the growling thunder. The dolphins swam in front of Tuggy to show him the way back to the harbor. Tuggy's engine worked as hard as possible. He was shaking so much that he thought he might break apart. Water leaked in from the cracks, caused by the shaking. Tuggy's water pumps pumped and pumped and pumped and pumped and pumped some more. Still the water rushed back in through the cracks. Oh no! Finally, the entrance to the harbor appeared through the pre-dawn light. The little lighthouse on the high cliff blinked.
You are home! You are home! You are home!
Red buoy flashed.
Red, right, returning.
Green buoy blinked. His work was done when Tuggy went out to sea. By the time they arrived outside the harbor, the sky became brighter as daylight arrived. A big rainbow shone in the sunshiny sky. The tugs in the harbor saw exhausted Tuggy coming in with Lady Slipper in tow. Chug, chug, pump, pump, sigh. They all tooted their whistles in a big cheer. Tuggy was a hero. He saved all the people. Tuggy rescued all the daddies, mommies, grandpas, grandmas, and children on the Lady Slipper. The captain was so relieved that he removed his hat and bowed to the little tugboat in gratitude. The next day, when the storm had calmed, the mayor of the town proclaimed the day Tuggy Day. They had a big celebration in the harbor. All the people who had been on the Lady Slipper gave Tuggy a big cheer. Hooray! The mayor gave him a special medal for his smokestack. Even Bully Tug congratulated him.
I'm proud of you, Tuggy. It was not fair of me to judge you on your little size.
Thank you, Bully Tug,
said Tuggy.
Good friends watch out for each other no matter if they're big or small. I also did it with the help of my wonderful dolphin friends.
So from that day on, Tuggy always had jobs to do. Plus, he worked right alongside the giant tugs. He was still so little, yet brave. Tuggy went into the tiny places to help in big ways. Sometimes, on his days off, he chugged back out into the sea to play with his dolphin friends. Now Tuggy was a very happy tugboat that never forgot his ocean friends who helped him save the people. Tuggy says,
together we can do hard things.
The end.